Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome back to all the participants. So, participants, today we will start understanding about the DevOps pipelines that will help us to build the continuous integration and the continuous deployment on top of AWS cloud. So, participants, just a quick insights about a DevOps pipeline. The idea of DevOps is to drive the dev team as well as the operations team. So what exactly a dev team? A dev team will comprise of the team who are responsible for writing the code for an application, maybe a Java application, maybe a .NET application, some kind of application which is expected to run. So that application, whoever is the developer, that person will work, or there will be a team who will work together to write the code. That team will go ahead and give it the latest code. This code needs to be deployed. So there should be someone called ops person or ops engineer. So ops guy will refer to that person who is responsible for taking the code from the developer and deploying it. Let's assume that we have a project where we have to deliver the development team writing the code and the code that is given to the ops guy, and the ops guy is releasing the code. So on the other side, it is the customer who's receiving the code. Customer means the client that you work for. Client has to receive the code in the form of a running project. So it all starts by making sure the code is available at a central location. Why? Because when different people are involved, code needs to be at a central location, which is called the source. So participants, whenever I use a word called source, I'm referring to a central location or a repository where the code is going to remain. Everyone, are you with me, people? Hello? A source is a place where developers put their code or get their latest code from this source location. It's another repository where the code is placed. Everyone, are you with me, people? Hello? Participants, are we good?
Yes, come on.
Next, after the source, what they will do? Just they'll keep the code there? Definitely no. There should be a next stage in the process. The code that is taken is built. Built in the sense, the code that is given to you, which is human understandable code. I can understand, you can understand, but machine doesn't understand, because machine understands what? Machine understands ones and zeros. Machine only knows one thing, ones and zeros. So in order to run this code, we have to turn our human understandable code, printf, scanf, something that you write in the form of a code has to get turned into binary or compiler understandable language. Compiler has to understand what code that you gave so that it will start executing that code for you. Apart from that code, after compilation, you need to go ahead and run that code. So I need an artifact where I can run it. Everyone, are you with me? I need an artifact to be running. After running the artifact, I need to go ahead and see whether that artifact is actually running as expected. So I do need to do testing. So what I believe that in order to go ahead and handle the build stage, I need to take the latest code from the developer, check the changes are very much there. If the changes are very much there, I will build them, test them, and generate the artifacts. Artifact means something that can packaged all the packaged input that you get, you go ahead and package them and make it as a one unit. So that build process is, or the major stage for any programming language. You take a Python code, you will do a build process. Take a Java code, you will do a build process. Take a .NET code, you will do a build process. Take a Ruby code, you do a build process. So taking the code and building it into one complete package is the part of the stage called build stage. We do everything building and we test that artifact. Artifact means you are building something, you got an output. You take that artifact, you test it, it is working fine. Then it's time for me to release. Release where I have to release into staging environment. What is meant by staging? Just give me. Okay. So participants, the stages that we are discussing are very essential because we need a continuous connectivity to move the code, build the code, test the code, and deploy the code. So deployment, as you are already aware by the name itself, deployment is all about a stage where we take the artifact and deploy it. Into which environment? Maybe dev, maybe QA, maybe prod, something, some kind of environment. Most of the time, participants, this is what is an understanding. Dev is always that environment where the application is built by the developers and they deploy it in the dev environment. Prod is always that real world facing environment, that is the real world application. It's facing the world, that is a real application. This is something that it's a playground for you, where you go and test it, deploy it, everything you do. But there should be some kind of environment between you and the client where they can test similar to what production is looking like. See, it's a battleground here. You just play, you just go and do whatever you want. But there should be some kind of environment. This should almost replicate the production environment. That is where a staging environment comes into picture, or testing we call it as, or you can call it as QA, whatever the name. It's a staging environment. Staging environment is like UAT, user acceptance testing, or something like before you release this application into production, one stage, it's like 99%, it's almost similar to what production may look like, but it's not actually production. Because they want to keep testing everything in the staging environment, thorough testing. If they are convinced, yes, the code and the product is perfect, they will release into production environment. So it's a kind of environment which is not dev, but not prod, somewhere in between. But features are almost similar to what prod is, but the development code is released here to be tested. If any changes, they'll go back and change the code. At a stage when the code becomes so good that it is production ready, then they will release it. So now you understood what is staging environment, participants, why it is important. Are we good, everyone? Staging environment. And then finally, production release. They'll release into production. Then stages do get continued. What are those stages? We have stages like the next stage is if there are any issues that are still prevailing, or any bugs that are still prevailing, or any new features, the bugs are immediately identified. They're immediately resolved and deployed. But next features, they will plan for the next release. Participants, everyone, are we good? Participants, are we good for now?
Yes, come.
Now, let's start to look at the DevOps pipeline on top of AWS cloud. Why? Because we know how powerful is cloud. Because cloud can give us everything that we need. Cloud can give us the space that we want, the compute that we want, the storage that we want, the speed that we want. Now it's time for us to go ahead and start considering the cloud and start building our pipeline on top of cloud. So participants, welcome to our project into AWS cloud. And participants, this will be our project now into AWS cloud, where we will go ahead and use the different stages that involve source, build, test, deploy, provision, monitor, infrastructure automation. All these aspects will be addressed. So participants, where the project will get started, by now you have guessed it right. It all starts where we go ahead and put our code. Where is our code? Our code is now to be placed at a central location, like a Git. Once the code is placed into GitHub, we do pull that code. And for building, we need a builder tool like a Maven. We'll go ahead and build that tool with regards to Maven. When Maven comes into picture, this process have to be very much regular and continuous. So for this, we need a tool that can do all these integrations, which is where Jenkins to come into picture. If Jenkins is coming into the picture, we expect Jenkins to do pulling of the code with regards to pulling of the code from Git, building the code via using Maven, and we expect the artifact to be generated, which is the var package. As much as the var package is generated, we definitely need a storage to store it. Why? Because if you go ahead and run Jenkins, Jenkins will build the artifact, but that artifact will remain in the same location. So we need something like a storage, like S3 we will use. So now it's time for us to go ahead and focus on building images into the cloud provider. For that, I'm going to be using Packer. Packer will give me artifacts in terms of images. And those images, I'm going to be using Terraform to go ahead and build my AWS cloud instances, which are AWS cloud servers. So for this entire process, I'm going to be using Git, where the code is going to be placed. Jenkins is going to be the continuous integration server. I'm going to be using package var. I'm going to go ahead and use S3 bucket to store the artifacts. I'm going to go ahead and involve Packer to build our images. And then I'm going to use Terraform to completely automate this process. Participants, are we good at this moment? Participants, are we good? With regards to the pipeline, do you have any questions on the tools with regards to the DevOps pipeline?
No, Kumar.
Okay, I have a simple question for you. Why is that we are using DevOps, by the way? Question definitely to be answered is, if I can do everything in cloud, I can go ahead and create an instance and do a deployment. Why should I go ahead and start considering DevOps, by the way? What is the benefit for them? Can anyone answer this question, please? When everything is available in cloud, why should I go ahead and start using DevOps pipeline, what is the benefit for you?
Pipelines are like you can use it for checking the codes you are about to develop. We build the pipelines.
Very good. CI/CD pipelines. So participants, let me tell you, let's look at the story from the company standpoint of view. So participants, do you think in a company, it's that you and me will only work? Out of the box, instead of understanding technically, let's understand functional. See, do you think in a company it's only that a developer will be there? It's like you and me. Definitely, the answer is no. There will be hundreds of employees along with us, right? Hundred of employees, hundred of people will be there. Hundreds of people will be there who are taking the role of an employee for a client. Am I right, participants? Now, assume that if out of that 100 people, there are certain people who are grouped as developers, who are grouped as testing engineers. Let's assume that for now, let's make it very simple. There are 5 developers who are working on a Java project. Now, the problem is all these 5 developers have to have a common place where they need to put the code. Problem number 1 is code management. Problem number 2 is every person is writing the code. No one is very much interested to test the code. That means there should be a tester on the other side, test engineer, who should go ahead and start doing the testing the code. That means let's assume now out of 5 people, there are 3 people who are part of testing. 5 people are writing the code, 3 people are testing the code. Okay. Now, who will do the responsibility? Because developer is completely busy in writing the code. Test engineer is, so we need to have a couple of people who will start doing the deployments. So 2 ops guys. Oh, see how the number is increasing. 5, 3, 2. Participants, everyone has their own way to do their job. Developer is completely busy. Testing guy is completely busy. Ops guy is completely busy releasing the code. Now, different people will have different ways to work. Let's assume I am the project manager. Now I have a big challenge is I have 3 different people working in 3 different directions. He will work in his own direction. He will work his own. He will go and work in his own direction. Let's ask what ops guy will do. Ops guy will take the code from the test engineer and deploy it. If something happens, test engineer says, no, that's not my problem. It was a problem that was given by the developer. Developer gave me the code, I tested. The developer says, no, my system was in my system, it worked good. I don't know what happened in test engineer system, it is not working. I go and say as a ops guy, no, I'm not worried about both of you guys, least bothered about you. What is that you guys do it, but give me a code which something I can do. So in order to juggle, in order to take over this juggling between people, I need to introduce a process. That process is something that make things working. So using a process, I go ahead and allow people that developer, you better follow a process. From your side, you follow the process, you keep your code ready. That's all you have to do. Let that tool or the process pull the latest code, build it, test it, and deploy it. So thereby, minimal independencies can be happening between dev team and ops team. It's completely automated now. It's a process-oriented solution. It's process-oriented pipeline build and test that we can do. So thereby, we are trying to bring a process that bind people, achieving the highest level of automation, bringing down the dependencies from one person to the other, and making sure that we use right set of tools to make our development and deployment faster. The target is the way that we develop and deploy the application, we will make faster, right? Also making sure that we bring down the dependencies. So for that, it's better to go ahead and build a pipeline. And pipeline should cover all the stages. Am I good, everyone? Participants, am I good? Participants, am I good with all of you? Participants, am I good with all of you?
Yes, Kumar.
Okay. Now, let me take an entry into the AWS cloud. For those participants who don't have an account, do not worry. I'll give you what is that you need to do to get an account. It's very simple. First, let me do a login into my account. Give you a quick overview of the account. This is my account ID. I'm going to log in like the way we used to log into the Azure. This is my username, and I'm going to make an entry into my account. Azure, GCP, DigitalOcean, Oracle Cloud, AWS Cloud. These all cloud providers have 90% of things common. They have most of the things common. In Azure, you get to see compute, storage, networking databases. In AWS, you'll also get to see compute, storage, networking databases. So just to go ahead and give you an insight about this, participants, you need to have an account. Into that account, the services will remain the same. For example, participants, if I have to store something, what do we get? Storage. Storage in AWS is called S3. What do you get to see in Azure? You get to see something called blob storage or data lakes. In AWS, we have the same logic. S3 buckets. And very simple, very easy to get started by having an account created, bucket. Participants, all you need to do is just right click, give a name of a bucket. That's all. The bucket gets created. That simple it is to create a bucket in S3. Go on top right hand on the right hand side, you will find create bucket option. Give a name. Let me demonstrate you. This is my Sigma's bucket. Yes, I already have the name. It's Vitas US East Hyphen. Just a name. Nothing very specific about this convention. I'll keep it in one location called Ohio region. That's it, guys. With that, I'm ready to get a bucket created. What is the concept of bucket? The concept of bucket is very simple. It's a place where you go ahead and store your objects. It's object storage. Like the artifacts that you generate from AWS Cloud after your Jenkins build, you'll get an artifact to store. So you will get to see the artifact storage coming in. Where is that Betas bucket? Here. Betas hyphen bucket, US East hyphen. That's all. That's simple. Here, from here, you upload any object you want, or upload in the sense file, any file that you want, anything that you want, upload. You can upload a folder you want to create a folder and upload the folder. Participants are able to relate now what is S3? S3 is very simple. S3 is all about storing. Because we need to store our artifacts, var packages. So we need a storage place. Participants, are we good? Everyone, are we good?
Yes, Kumar.
Yes, Kumar.
Now, there will be a process or there will be a very much dependency in terms of compute. We need compute resources. Because where we'll run our applications, servers, do cloud providers give you physical servers? Are they going to give you a physical server? Damn sure they will not be giving. They will not give you at all. How they can accommodate a physical server for you? Instead, they'll give you virtual server. So virtual server is all about VMs that we create. In AWS, we give a name. There is a naming convention called EC2. EC2 is all about virtual servers. You go, you create a server there. You go and you create a server there. As of now, I don't have any servers, but you can create a server, which I will discuss later, not at this moment. Just with one click of a button, we can launch an instance. That simple it is in AWS Cloud. Click of a button, an instance will get launched. But more, it's not about launching of an instance. It's about little more configurations. If we can do, we can get a better server that can withstand for a long time for our deployments. So participants, our aim is into this cloud provider of AWS Cloud, how we go ahead and build a pipeline and how we go ahead and do a deployment into this pipeline. That's our target. That's our actual target. Why? Because we are trying to replicate. For that, various services of AWS would be required. S3 storage is required. EC2 compute is required. Everyone, are we good, participants? And other services are required, which I will discuss. Participants, everyone, are you with me? Hello?
Yeah, yes, Kumar.
Okay. Now, the point is, how is that we should get started if we don't have an account? Because you should have an account to do a deployment. The participants, very straightforward. Let me first do a login, otherwise it will take me out of my account. Very simple, guys. Go ahead and type in AWS free tier along with me. All you need to do is just get an account created if you don't have an account. And the good thing is AWS will give you for the next 12 months the account for free, and it will also give you various benefits. Like it will give you benefits of an instance, an EC2 instance. It will give you a benefit of S3 storage. What does EC2? As we already discussed, it's about compute. It's like a server. That server will be free for you for next 750 hours. That means if you get an account created today, if you start a server, till 1 month plus 30 days. See how to understand this 750 hours. So AWS says 750 hours. That means 24 hours in a day. Take 24 hours in a day, multiplied by 30. 720 hours plus extra 30 hours, 750 hours of compute is free for you. That means you run your machine till 750 hours. Not even a single dollar will be charged to you. So it will charge, but it will come under free tier. So it will be waived off for you. So you can go ahead and run your application inside this free tier instance. But you have to maintain the sizes. Sizes should be T2.micro. Am I good, everyone? The sizes should be T2.micro, and you should only use Linux, or if you're using Windows, T2.micro, but you have to remain on the size T2. Sorry. For Windows also, you have to remain on the size T2.micro. So participants, for this, all you need to do is go ahead and create a free tier account, click a free tier account. The account gets created. For the next 1 month, you can start using this account. The process is very simple from here. You'll go ahead and input your email ID, put an account. After that, it will ask you to go ahead and enter your personal details. You'll confirm your personal details. Then there will be debit or a credit card entry. You'll have to enter your debit or credit card. And then once you're done with your registration, you'll get an email. With that, your account is ready. Then you will end up in this page called signing into AWS account, which we call it as root account. Participants, which we call it as root account. From here, you will do a login. So participants, I want everyone, whoever have an account, that's good. If you don't have an account, get your account registered. Then participants, what we'll do, we will start deploying our pipeline into AWS cloud. Everyone, are we good for now? Participants, are we good?
Yes.